Bulletproof Bubbles and DGZ23 himself back at it again. I got my first bike to go into today. We got us a beautiful 2018 Harley Davidson here. It's some kind of fancy red name. It's so long I can't remember it, but it is beautiful. That is for certain. Really like these lights on the front. Just loving this entire bike. You see he's got the beautiful bags over there in the trunk. We're gonna take care of everything. We're gonna start out with our usual washing decontamination, and then we're gonna break out our polisher. I got a new machine to work with. I got me a mini rotary polisher with a 1-inch and 2-inch backing plate, so we can get all these fine small areas and get more and more efficient with everything I'm doing. It won't take much or nothing to knock all these guys out. And this customer's going with the 10-year coverage, so we're going with Duraslic. You know I'm team Duraslic now. DS 1500 Extreme, the world's only oleophobic coating. Not only does it resist the water, it resists oils too. Very chemically resistant, extremely hydrophobic, lots and lots of gloss. What everybody loves, the good old gloss. As if this thing doesn't have enough gloss as it is. By the time I'm done with it, it's gonna be up a couple of notches, baby. You know, we looking for HD clarity, then we gonna trap it under the glass. So y'all stay tuned. Let's see how this works out. The customer takes really good care of his motorcycle, and it was really clean when he brought it to me. The only part that was really dirty was the wheels, but I still wanted to give it a proper bath, keeping in mind that we are decontaminating the surfaces before we coat them. So I decided to use a bike wash that contains some strong detergents to really strip the surfaces down to bare materials. It's a really great product for situations like this where the surfaces aren't very dirty, but you really want to get them clean as possible. You can simply saturate the bike in the product, let it dwell for a little while, and rinse it away. Because there was not much dirt to begin with, there's no need for agitation. And it does pretty good, I must say. Other than that, the only other product I used on the bike before continuing the decontamination process was a 2-in-1 type wheel and tire cleaner. It works pretty much just the same as the bike wash. Just spray it, but you only want to let it dwell for about 30 seconds to a minute, then rinse it away. And it does remove pretty much everything. After those processes are done, I will move on to decontamination, which will consist of an iron remover and a clay bar. I wanted to slow down and give you an update on the process. As you see so far, I have soaked down the bike in the bike wash, then followed behind it with an iron remover. It's important that you remove all foreign debris from the paint before you start polishing. Iron particles are definitely something you want to remove because they can induce scratches. A lot of times the particles come flying off of your brakes hot and buries themselves into your paint. The chemical that I applied contains sulfurs, which dissolves the iron particles, turning them purple, which allows you to rinse them away. Now I have moved on to mechanical decontamination. This will be the first time I have contacted the surface physically. Even after you wash your vehicle, there's still going to be little particles of dirt and debris buried into your paint. It can be removed with a piece of clay and a lubricant. The paint on the Harley was not heavily contaminated, so I used a soft white piece of clay paired with my Optimal No Rinse, which is a rinseless soap. Once you have an area of the paint saturated with the lubricants, you take the piece of clay with the tips of your fingers and lightly rub it across the surface, which will shear away the dirt. Continue until the vehicle is complete. At this point, it's time to start drying off the bike. Since I'm going right into paint correction, I really need to get this thing as dry as possible. Anyone who has picked up a polisher cannot stand when water is dripping. So I'm going to start out with my big gauntlet towel from the Rag Company, which is a really awesome towel. I can probably dry a big SUV with this thing and it still will not be saturated. After that, I'm going to follow behind it with my blow dryer, which has heated filtered air. This will allow me to blow out all of the cracks and crevices to make sure no water is dripping while I am polishing. I've dried majority of the bike with the microfiber towel. Now I want to locate all of those areas that seem to hold water so I can blow them out so they will not become a nuisance throughout the polishing process. This little guy is ideal for motorcycles because there seems to be so many places water hides. It's blowing air that is filtered and heated, which will help get the water off. I've also used it on ceramic coated vehicles because it's so slick it just blows away really easily. It's still ideal for this bike even though it's not coated yet because there are so many cracks and crevices. Let's go ahead and get this thing wrapped up so we can move on to polishing. Before we move on to polishing, we can't forget about the bags and the trunk. They really were not that dirty. They just had a bit of smudges and fingerprints. So I decided to wipe it down with a good panel wipe. Then I will move on to the clay bar and we can have some fun with the polisher. Now it's time to have some fun with the polisher. I got my 2-inch, I got my 5-inch, I got my Sonex Perfect Finish. I'll be using some medium pads today, along with medium speed on the polisher and medium arm speed. I'm going to start off with my 5-inch and use my 2-inch as needed. I have already done a test spot, so I know what my results should look like. There wasn't many blemishes to remove at all, but what I do remember the most is the depth of the color seemed to get deeper and the metallic flakes really jumped out. This red was already popping, but it's about to pop a little bit more. Just wait and see. I don't know if you can tell from this angle and through the camera, but the red really got a lot of more depth and a little more pop. The metallic flakes were already plentiful, now they are tremendous. The few blemishes that were there are no longer. These are definitely the results I am looking for. Okay guys, we gotta speed this thing up quite a bit because we got a lot of polishing ahead of us. So just enjoy the footage. Alright guys, hopefully you've been enjoying the process so far. We've come down to the nitty gritty. It's time to coat this bike and all of its accessories. We got Duraslic 1500 Extreme 7 to 10 year coating, the world's only oleophobic coating. about to be applied to every part of this bike. So just walk with me through the process, guys. A little goes a long way, but for your first application, you want to make sure you saturate that applicator. The bags and the trunk were the most straightforward pieces on the motorcycle, so I decided to start there. It was really easy to find a good starting point. The objective is to cover every inch, so you want to strategize how you are going to attack before you start. You also want to move in a crosshatch pattern to ensure that you have full coverage. The key to applying a coating is knowing when to get it off. Each product will give you some type of indicator, if you will. For this coating, it tends to flash into a rainbow and separate. When you see this, it's time to remove the excess and level the remaining. This is when it's time to be obsessive. You want to be absolutely certain that you get everything off of the surface. You don't want to leave one speck. If you allow anything to remain, once it starts to harden, it will leave what is referred to as a high spot. It will appear as a darkened area from the excess material. They can be removed with a little effort, but the purpose is to not get them in the first place. They usually appear in odd little areas like around corners, like where I am wiping now. I am trying to be extra sure that nothing remains in those small little areas. For a little added assurance, I use a 2-towel system. I like to start off with a high pile microfiber towel, and for my second towel I use a low pile. My initial towel is more plush, which allows it to absorb a little more. Since I'm trying to get the little things that may be left in areas that you just cannot see very well, I like to use a lower pile or less plush towel, so that way I can really get my fingertips into those small little areas and really dig them out good. Let's speed this thing up and see what she looks like in the end. Alright guys, it's all over. She's totally coated up. So what do you guys think? You see the flakes in there? All of that clarity? All of that gloss? Yeah, that was done by Bulletproof Bubbles. 7 to 10 years of a beautiful bike that is protected from the elements will forever shine and will always be easy to clean. I want to give a special thanks to each and every one of you guys for watching with me today. I hope that you enjoyed the show and learned a few things along the way. As much as we pay for our vehicles, paint protection is very important, and I wanted to bring a little awareness. So stop by Bulletproof Bubbles and get your paint protected for the years to come. You know the motto, another happy customer, baby. This is Bulletproof Bubbles signing off.